Hi everyone, Amy Jam here. Happy Sunday. Thanks so much for tuning in. Believe it or not, this is like my fourth take at taping this video. And the reason why is because this topic is really hard for me to talk about. But I am forcing myself to share this because I would like to help other men and women, young men and women entering the workforce, be able to learn from what I went through and take the right action if, God forbid, something like this happens to you. Not to over dramatize this, but when I was younger, entering my first real career, high profile work, I was fortunate enough to get an offer from a super amazing company, a multi-billion-dollar company. It was an amazing opportunity. They paid for me to relocate, got me an apartment, brand new, beautiful apartment, and a wonderful relocation package. I was brought in as an engineer, and I was super young. It was everything I had dreamed of, to be honest with you. I had worked so hard in school, and this offer only went out to very few candidates. I remember when I interviewed for this role, it was a week-long interview. They flew me out, and I interviewed with a group. So it was very competitive, and it was almost like a debate where, we were lined up against each other in some scenarios. We were teammates in other interview scenarios. And so winning and getting the offer was truly like winning the lottery for me at the time, especially since money was super tight and I was the breadwinner for my family. So I'll fast forward to a couple months into the role. Again, a super young, bright-eyed, just really wanted to sponge and learn as much as I could. I remember my first day when I met the team, they introduced me to so-and-so who was an actual rocket scientist, which I thought was super cool. And, I also was reporting to various people, one of which was a gentleman who was older than me and who had been with the company for about 20 years and was basically who I was directly reporting to and was in charge of getting me transitioned in with other group members and basically seemed like a pretty decent, person. Fast forward, and I started seeing meetings come up on my calendar, and I would go to the conference room and it would just be this gentleman and myself. And so at first I didn't think anything of it, but I kept, after the third or fourth time of, really running out of things to discuss, I questioned and I said, well, why aren't we meeting with the rest of the team, And at that point, I started getting the feeling that he wanted to speak to me in a less than professional tone. So I went back to my cube, got out of the meeting some way, somehow, and received an email from him. And it was very vulgar. It was a vulgar video over corporate email. So I was completely shocked and I didn't know what to do with this. So immediately I forwarded it to his manager and said, I don't know why this man is sending me this, but I don't think this is right. And per the week-long HR training that you all sent me on, I'm apparently supposed to report this to you. So it took about 15 minutes and his manager called my desk phone and had me go to his office. And he said, I am so sorry. I can't believe he sent you this. We've never had anything like this before, but trust and believe we're going to take care of it. Don't worry, you are safe. And I said, okay. And he basically sent me back to my cube. The next day, I came to the office and his manager called me into his office again to let me know that they had fired the gentleman. And basically it was because of what he had done. So I was like, oh my goodness, okay. I went back to my desk, worked the day, and then the next day I was on my way to the office where I received a call. And the call was from his manager asking me to go to another location, report to that location, and meet in the conference room there. So I went to the other location and went to the conference room. It was his manager and another person I had never seen before. And they basically told me that I was being let go as well. So, to recap, I didn't do anything wrong. I was actually in a relationship at the time. I had no interest in this older man that I reported to. I quickly did everything that HR said I should do and reported him, only to get penalized in the end. And I had worked so hard for this opportunity, and the whole time I just remember thinking, oh my gosh, how am I going to explain this to my mom, my friends, everyone that was so excited for me? I moved my whole life to another state all alone, and basically now I'll have to go home with my tail between my legs and try to make some sense out of this, let alone any impact to my career. So I went back to the DC area, started from scratch, thankfully got another even better job with way more money. Everything works, itself out in the end. But what I want to share with you all is, as much as we like to think positively, there are screwed up people everywhere. You can be as professional, as kind, as standoffish as can be, but you never know what's going on in other people's minds that you work with. So what I want to encourage you to do, if you're ever in a questionable scenario like I was, I would not go straight to your manager. I would marinate on it for a moment, and I would have some sort of documentation, some sort of evidence, maybe some sort of recording that you could take with you. So in my case, something was emailed to me through my corporate email, so I didn't have access to that anymore. I couldn't show that to anybody. The second they told me to go, I didn't have access to anything. What I would encourage you to do is to have your documentation, to have some sort of evidence. And instead of going straight to a manager, I would go straight to an attorney. And I would share exactly what happened, word for word, and get their guidance as to what's the right thing for you to do. Now, this may not be something that is applauded for from the corporate perspective, but from the human perspective, you need to protect yourself. And if you are being threatened, if you are being put in a corner and you are vulnerable and you don't have anybody supporting you, you have to step up and do it yourself. So I would talk to an attorney, see what they say. Hopefully it's not that bad and you can go to your leadership, and depending on the company. So that company was extremely conservative, clearly, and it was a different time, a couple decades ago. But basically, make sure you're taking the steps to protect yourself, and never let anybody take advantage of your professionalism. And if you ever doubt a meeting, an email, or any sort of out of the ordinary communication, listen to your voice inside your head. Listen to your heart. And there are so many attorneys right now that do free consultations, especially employment law. Worst case scenario, you have a conversation and you learn. It may not be anything bad, but at least you have the peace of mind knowing that you are, doing your due diligence and supporting and protecting yourself. So everyone, I can't believe I just shared that story with you all, but I hope that it touches your heart, and that even if you are on the opposite end and maybe you're actually the aggressor and you're not realizing how you're making someone else feel in the workplace, I hope this helps you, stop and think before you speak, stop and think before you're setting up one-on-one meetings with people. And I hope that this really resonates and has a positive effect for you all. Thanks so much for listening, and don't forget to be joyful in your journey.